Beautiful day.
Yes, it certainly is.
The most important things in life are kindness and courage. Can I help you find an example of courage?
Get in.
Are you threatening me? Toodaloo.
Mother, when did I start to realize that the world was
a rotting cesspool of decay and mediocrity?
All the bad people stay and all the good ones die.
It's our responsibility to make it a better place.
What's his name?
His name is Frank.
Children, we mustn't approach animals that we don't know.
You always let them come to you.
Sheriff?
There was a shooting near the school today. Civilians were massacred. The alleged shooter was killed also.
That is so not an option.
We've got a composite on the vigilante, kind of Pulp Fiction Mary Poppins.
Hello.
What do you do when you're not working?
My hobbies.
Should you harm any child, you will be killed.
Is there something you're not telling me?
There are a lot of things I'm not telling you, Sheriff. There are bad people in the world.
It's not silly to be scared, Miss Meadows.
I'm not scared of anything.
Ever since you've moved here, things just feel different.
Toodaloo.
Well, that was interesting. I was somewhat intrigued, but I have to say I'd be a whole lot more intrigued if this movie starred anyone else and was directed by anyone else. Because Katie Holmes, let's face it, she has a horrible track record at this point when it comes to movies, both with her choices and her performances in them. And then this is the screenwriter behind Because I Said So. She's directed a few movies before, not Because I Said So, but she works periodically. But the biggest title on her resume is Because I Said So, which is a Mandy Moore, Diane Keaton, chick flick comedy. So I applaud her trying to move in a different direction, and I applaud Katie Holmes for trying to move in a different direction, but the whole thing seems a little gimmicky to me. I like the description of a Mary Poppins vigilante, but again, the concept and even the casting with Katie Holmes, again, is gimmicky. And there's nothing wrong with the gimmick if you can follow through, but this movie, again, because of the track records of those involved, I don't know if I see any follow-through. This might be one of those movies that's better off talked about than actually seen, which I'm sure would be fine with Katie Holmes. Maybe she'd even prefer it because, as I said, not the greatest actress at this point. Maybe she's been working on it, but I think she would just love to show people that she's up for anything. She's willing to take on, interesting, dynamic, and somewhat gimmicky roles. Now, I have a problem with this overall, which actually relates to Gone Girl, and that's something we discussed rather heatedly over in the spoiler review that I want to address here because I see the same problem. But this is somewhat of a spoiler for Gone Girl. If you know what I'm talking about, there are still tons of twists left, but still, again, at the end of the day, if you want to experience Gone Girl totally, fresh and without any spoilers, click away, and then I hope you'll come back after you've seen the film. So anyway, I have a problem when they take strong female characters and then they undercut them by saying they're mentally imbalanced. Now, I know on the surface it's cool. This person's so far gone, they're insane. It's like a Batman villain, and who doesn't love a good Batman villain? But I think when you do it with a female character, especially as we're trying to make strides in creating, stronger characters to point to, who are masters of their own fate, so to speak, the insanity label, I think, does more harm than good and actually counteracts any steps forward. For instance, Gillian Flynn has said, and many of you pointed out, that she wanted to create a female character who was unapologetically evil. But I would counter that by making Amy Dunn mentally ill, you kind of affixing this character to the crazy ex-girlfriend, it actually does more harm than good. Again, because Amy Dunn isn't some, criminal mastermind, she's not some criminal genius, but instead she is the ex-girlfriend from hell. Everything you suspected about a crazy ex-girlfriend, exponential to the exponential degree, just magnified, I guess exponentially is the right term. That's kind of what Amy Dunn became. She is just a crazy ex-girlfriend, and if someone's girlfriend in the future is acting weird, I wouldn't be surprised if a guy would say, "Don't go all Amy Dunn on me," and that just is, I think, not what Gillian Flynn was talking about when she said a strong female character. I would also point out that, of course, Amy Dunn only acted insane once she was wronged by a guy. She didn't use these skills to get a job, to get promoted, to, get a nice apartment, just to make her life better in general. The crazy only came out when she didn't like what a guy was doing, or she felt the guy was going to leave her. So again, it reinforces the crazy ex-girlfriend angle, and all of her actions are once more centered around male characters. Now that's not the case so much with the Katie Holmes character here, Miss Meadows. She's not focused necessarily around male characters. And I do like they seem to be hinting at a love triangle between the two sides of her, the good police officer and then this criminal, because she's kind of both. And I think that's interesting. But again, you have a character that largely is justifying her actions off of, two guys. I mean, I think it would be much more progressive to have just a female vigilante who solved crimes and, protected the city or wherever she was, taking under her protection. That would be really interesting. But, I think they always try and add some humanity. Even Kill Bill added the angle of, bride being, her husband being killed, at the altar, an ex-relationship being the problem, and a child being factored in there. All very, feminine things. You don't always tie into the male characters. But Miss Meadows doesn't have all the problems of Amy Dunn's character in Gone Girl. But again, I wish that the vigilante didn't have to be mentally ill. Mary Poppins wasn't mentally ill. Why couldn't this vigilante or Miss Meadows' character just have a strong moral code? Why couldn't she just, feel that she wanted everything to be nice and she didn't want anyone to ruin it? I think that would be much more interesting than having her dress like she's from the 1950s, and she escaped from a mental institution. Because who else would dress like that? And also, I would be very concerned if that person was teaching any children in a school. I'd be like, this person clearly has problems. Just look at the way they're dressed. Look, who says toodaloo? I just think, again, maybe for the sake of comedy and, to appeal to genre fans, some weak decisions are being made here. So that's just something to think about in the way female characters are being depicted and why the mental instability label needs to be applied to them. Why Hollywood and even female screenwriters, in both these cases actually, are doing that to their characters. And do you still feel a female character is as strong if she's mentally ill? I mean, you don't see it that often with male strong characters. I mean, look at Liam Neeson's character, or John Wick, or Denzel Washington in The Equalizer. None of these characters are mentally ill. They're not like, well, I better go see my psychiatrist and pop some pills just to make sure I can get through the day. These characters are all just doing what's right. And I think that the real strength for a female character would to do the same. And wouldn't it be great if Miss Meadows was like a Liam Neeson character or, Denzel in The Equalizer? I think that would be much more interesting to me. All right, so that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and you can check out some more episodes right now.